Hello everyone, and thank you for clicking on this video. So today I would like to talk about the type of mindset that you need to have when living in Japan. And just before I begin, I just want to say that these are just my own opinions and it's coming from my own experience of living here. So you may disagree to them or you may agree to them for those of you who currently live in Japan. But I hope that you can relate to it somehow to what I'm saying. And for people who are thinking of coming here, I hope that like my advice or experience can help you in any way and to prepare you for to live in Japan. Okay, so to start off, I think when you live here, obviously in the beginning, it's like a wonderland, right? It's like, wow, I'm in Japan, anime world, right? Like everything is exciting. Everything is just you're curious about everything, and you're so excited to be in a country full of culture and rich history, right? And of course, most of the time, like that does like most of the time you'll still have that feeling inside of you even if you live here for a long time. Like for me, like I still feel so like excited to like, oh wow, like I sometimes I forget that I live in Japan, and then when I remember I'm like, oh my god, like this is actually like, wow, this is really cool because it's very different compared to living in the West. But when you live here for a certain period of time, your mindset begins to shift, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about. So I realized that living here, you shouldn't overthink too much about certain things that Japanese people may have said to you or done to you, whether it's in English or Japanese. Because if you let that stick into your head, and it can really affect your job performance. It can really affect your day to day activities, your day to day living, and your overall life here. So it's important to kind of just like brush it off, um, and try not to take it personally. So, for example, sometimes you may come across a situation where a Japanese person will say something to you in English, right, with their limited English ability, and sometimes you may be like, "Wait, what? Like, why did you say that?" Or but for example, like, oh, like, yo, it looks like you got fat, you got fatter. But what they really mean is that maybe like, oh, like you gained more muscle mass, or it's just the way that the adjectives that they use in English, with their limited speaking ability, it may sound offensive to you, right? And you got to realize that, like, okay, like there's two things I can do. One, I can take this personally, right, as an attack, which is the least, probably you should not do at all. And two, it's like, oh, just brush it off. It's not a big deal. They probably didn't. What you thought they meant is probably not true. So that's the type of mentality that you should have, and that'll definitely help you, improve your life here and your overall mental state when you're living in Japan. Um, and I've also noticed that sometimes like they can Japanese people, like depending on the type of friendship that you have, they can be a little touchy, right? Um, like they may like grab your shoulder, they'll grab your legs, or they'll grab your hand and stuff like that. And that I'm talking about, it could be like your coworkers. It could be like just like people that you talk to, just friends that you made, and you may feel a little uncomfortable, right? And when that happens, you should kind of just uh, you can one just tell them like, you like, I feel uncomfortable, like you shouldn't, like, don't touch me like that, and they'll definitely respect you for that. Like they'll be like, okay, like I won't do that. Or you could just do it back as a joke, like ha ha ha, like grab, tap on their shoulder or whatever, whatever they did to you, right? But yeah, I feel like they can be a little too touchy at times, so that's when you kind of like need to draw the line and be like, yo, listen, like I don't know you like that. So please just like step back, choto step back, and they'll get the idea. They'll respect it. They won't get offended or anything like that. They'll understand that you just need your space. So you need to be able to voice your opinion and not assume that, and not, if you feel uncomfortable, you shouldn't like just accept it, because they maybe do it again and again and again and again. So you need to say something about it, right? And I'm not saying everyone's like that, but like, just maybe certain people that you have befriended, they may get a little too touchy with you. So just make sure you if you feel too uncomfortable, say something. And looking at it from an opposite perspective, so try not to look at things at face value. I'll give you certain examples. So Japanese people they take cleaning very seriously. Like, it's a very important aspect of their lives. Um, if you work in a school, for example, they clean the school every day. The students and the teachers. There aren't any like there aren't like three, four, five or custodians or janitors that clean up everything. No, the students and the teachers have to clean up. A majority of the time, everything, the floors, the tables, the chairs, everything. And you look at it, at the beginning, you look at it, and then you're like, oh, okay, they're just cleaning. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But when you actually like talk to them and ask them like, why do you clean? Like, why is this an everyday thing, and why do you do it so often? Why, then they'll give you the backstory, they'll give you the information, and the reason is that cleaning actually cleanses the soul, it actually cleanses the heart. So when you clean it, it kind of is like a stress reliever, and it's also a very spiritual thing, right? The Japanese people believe, majority of Japanese people believe in that everything has spirits, right? Like, the TV has a spirit, the trees have a spirit, the grass have a spirit, flowers have a spirit. Every object has a spirit. Even like the toilet has its own like spirit, right? The bathroom. So everything has energy, right? Everything has, like, they believe that everything has some sort of, and you have to respect everything, right? And you wouldn't know this, right? Unless you ask them. You're inquisitive and you ask them like, why do you clean all the time? Why do you do this? Another example is bowing. I have noticed that, for example, in my school, with the club activities, the kendo, the tennis, table tennis, the volleyball, stuff like that, they're bowing, right? Before and after. And especially with kendo, they bow at a certain direction, and then they bow again at a certain direction, and then they bow at the teacher, right? And what they're doing is that they're bowing to the spirits. They're bowing to the energy that's around them, the spiritual energy that's around them, and they're showing their respect, right? They're showing the respect to their sensei, which is the teacher, and they're showing respect to the area in which they perform their activity, right? And you wouldn't know this from face value. You wouldn't know unless you ask. And it's really interesting because when you look back and you just stay observant, right? You will notice these things. You will notice how much meaning there is behind everything that Japanese people do. There is a deeper meaning behind everything. So another thing I want to talk to you about as well is that you need to know when to respect silence. Whether that's on buses, trains, at the workplace, when you're having a conversation with a Japanese person, and there's that period of silence. It's very important, because first of all, you respect the person a lot more, and you respect other people around you when you're silent. You become a better listener when you're silent. You have a clear head when you're silent. You're able to focus more when when there is silence. So there is a lot of meaning and a lot of significance behind silence, right? And sometimes if you are talking to like a Japanese person, right, and they said something to you, right? Or you said something to them, there may be that tiny period of silence before they respond, right? And it's interesting because I've never really noticed that the significance of silence so much in the West, right? Everyone's just talking over each other. People are talking on the buses and the trains, and there's no like rule that tells you like that you cannot speak, right? And it's really interesting when you come here. It's like you appreciate silence a lot more, and you also kind of develop the skill of when to be silent, right? When you're speaking to somebody, and use that to your advantage in the sense that you develop better listening skills and better observation skills. And yeah, so it's definitely important to know that the importance of respecting silence in Japan. So another thing that I want to talk about is that you need to know how to read the room. An example is that when you go is at a grocery store. When you go to a grocery store and you ask the clerk where something is, right? Most of the time, they will not give you a direct answer. They'll be like, ちょっと、then they may like walk around the aisle to find the item. They may, you may go with them and then they'll try to find the item for you. And you may be going around to every single aisle, looking around, looking around, looking around. And the clerk may be staring at one section of the aisle. That is your cue to realize that, okay, the item is unavailable. Like they don't have that item. And this can happen quite often, when you go to, any store in Japan and you're looking for something. Because Japanese people tend to be not direct. Like they tend not to be direct, and they want to promote like harmony overall in the sense that no, they don't want to be confrontational. And it's interesting that when you experience this, especially even if you're a tourist, if you're here for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you may experience this as well. You come to Japan, you ask somebody where something is or where to go if you're going to go somewhere. They may give you a direction of where to go, but it may not be the right direction. But they're trying their best to help you, in the best way that they can. You kind of just have to read the room. You just kind of have to realize that, okay, like maybe I should use Google or something. Yeah. Another example is that when you're at the workplace in Japan, right? Um, and you're working with Japanese people, say if a supervisor may come up to you, right, and they may tell you like to maybe it's a good idea if you do this by this date. What it really means is that you need to do this ASAP. Like you need to do this as soon as possible. That's what it really means. So you kind of just it's kind of a skill that you just pick up over time, and you just have to read the room, and you have to be good. You have to be good at awareness, like spatial awareness and stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. So just to summarize, overall, you need to be a patient person living in Japan. You need to be a good listener. You also need to have like a good attitude. Try to have a positive attitude at all times. And also try to be inquisitive and curious about the culture, and be good at observing your surroundings. Try to be more of a listener than a speaker when you are in Japan. You will learn a lot about the culture and society, and yeah, this is pretty much the type of like mentality that you need to have when you are coming to Japan to live here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.